You've seen the work we've put in, day out, challenging myths, debunking old wives' tales, and rejecting poor breeding practices. We've dedicated years of research, study, and real-world experiences to perfect the art and science of breeding. And we do it for one reason: to bring you the best, most accurate information possible. Because you know what? You deserve nothing less. But to keep this mission growing week after week, we need you. If you found value in the Bred to Perfection podcast, please take a moment to rate and review us. A 5-star rating and a quick comment might seem small, but every review helps us reach more breeders who need to hear the truth, who want to learn what it really takes to create, improve, and maintain top quality strains. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you are a vital part of it. If you believe in what we're doing, if you want to help others wake up and become better breeders, push this podcast to the top. Rate, review, and share. Together, we make a difference. Thank you for standing with us. Now, let's get to work. Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. The Breeders Academy proudly presents Bred to Perfection with Kenny Troiano, a show for serious breeders.
Whether you are looking to create a new strain or simply improve an old one, you have come to the right place.
Daddy, I want more chicken.
Oh, boy.
Now, here's your host, Kenny Troiano.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bred to Perfection. My name is Kenny Troiano, and this, my friends, is the podcast devoted to helping you become a better breeder and taking your strain to the next level. That's right, my friends. It doesn't matter if you are brand new to breeding or you've been breeding for many years. There is something all of us can do to improve our fowl for future generations.
Life is like a pen of chickens. When they're mongrels, you never know what you're gonna get.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Bred to Perfection. I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders Academy, and I'm here with my wife, Nancy. And you're my co-host today.
Yes, I am.
So what's going on?
I am here for you to tell me what to do and make sure that I don't screw up.
I get to boss you around.
Or make any mistakes. No, really, actually, guys, I hope this week finds you with better weather all throughout the United States and abroad. That's about it. Other than I'm getting my ducks in the row to possibly retire in the near future. So I'll let you know how that goes. Kenny, what are we discussing today?
We're going to be talking about the 15 rules of selective breeding, and that's going to be a fun one. You were asking me, I think it might have been a couple shows ago, how many pages we have on the Breeders Academy.
Right, it was.
Yeah. So I looked it up.
Wait.
I
The grand total
I already gave you
is?
the answer. Okay. We got 800 pages in posts.
Ooh.
So we got a lot of information on there. We've got 36 Masters Class videos. I just posted another one. And then we've got a number of members roundtables. And then we have all the podcasts and all the archive of the live shows on the website. We have a ton of courses. We have a ton of articles. We do daily articles too. So there's just so much information. And I just thought it was interesting because I remember you asking me about that. And I happened to be on the website. And I thought, oh, let me go check it out. So I didn't even know how many we had. I knew it was quite a bit, but I didn't know that it would be like 800. And I'm posting stuff on there every week.
Here's the question of the day. How many of you members out there have actually gone through every single page?
I don't think anybody has, actually.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. But I do want to welcome the new members. We got quite a few new members. Since the first of the year, they've been coming in, which I really do appreciate. The website just keeps growing exponentially, and we're looking forward to that. We hope we have a good year for that, so we'll see how that goes. But I do want to mention to the members that this show here, It's a pretty good outline. Nancy knows I overshoot the outlines all the time. I always put way more in there than we're ever going to cover. But for the members, not only are you going to get this video on the website as an archive, but you'll get all the show notes, all the information, and the articles that go with it. So make sure you check that out. That's why I'm always telling the members. I know sometimes it's easier to watch the videos on YouTube, but for one thing, I don't keep them on YouTube very long. They only stay on for a certain length of time. But you're missing out in that all the information that goes with the video is on the website. So I always tell my members, make sure you check that out. I know it's easier to watch it on the front end, but there's just so much more attached to it on the back end. So I always want to make sure I remind you of that. We will be doing a members roundtable today. So as soon as we're done here, we're only going to do an hour on the front end, and we do about an hour on the back end. So if you're a member, after we get out here, make sure to join us inside the Breeders' Academy. For those who want to become a member, this is a good time to register. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com to register. Once you register, you're going to get instant access to the Founders Program, the Masters Class videos, the Members Roundtables, all the programs and courses which actually support the Founders Program, the daily articles. Not only am I on there, but Frank's on there, and you're going to get a lot of expert advice from Brian Reeder on poultry genetics, Peter Brown on disease prevention, and Dr. Gallardo on healthcare and disease prevention as well. And we do coaching calls. So if you're a member, you actually get to get together with me and we talk about your birds, figure out where you're at, figure out where you need to go. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. This show was brought to you by the Breeders' Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl. As a member, we'll provide you with the roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. I urge you to check it out. You've got nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders' Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl.
I hope to see you there. So let's get started.
Are we all done with the announcements?
Yep, I wanted to get to them really quick.
Okay, 15 rules of selective breeding. And do I have questions for you?
Attached to this or other than this?
No, attached to this. So
Okay.
you may start, my love, and then I will chime in when I have a question.
One of the things I like to do, the way I think of the front end, the actual Bred to Perfection show, is a primer. It's a way of getting up to date or getting up to speed with some of the things you need to know about breeding so that when you go into the Breeders' Academy, you're not bombarded. You have an idea of where you're going, what you need to do. Because one of the things I tell people when they get in there, check out the Start Here pages, start there, and then check out some of the things like the Founders Program, because that's probably what you're going to use to create your strain. So a lot of these have to do with that. A lot of this information is on the website. But I like these kind of articles. I like these kind of topics because it gets you warmed up for what's in the website. So I apologize for some of you that have heard this a million times, but I always covering it different ways and making a conversation about it. So I told Nancy, pay attention to the comments, but pay attention to me too, because I need her to participate. So if you have any questions or comments that you want Nancy to pay attention to, keep them short and clear so that she's not spending a lot of time reading it, because I need her today.
I'll start them. I'll make sure that Kenny answers them. So you can depend on me, guys.
And I'm going to pull Nancy into the conversation quite a bit. Like this one. Be ready. Okay? Start with the best seed fowl possible. So you can't create a strain without proper seed fowl. What do you think about that, Nancy?
Well,
I'm going to pull you
digging,
into these things
you're
left and right.
You're really digging me in today. Oh my God. I'm going to be in so much trouble today, guys. You're going to have to help me out. Yeah. No, I did that on purpose.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah,
God,
right.
I did that on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, really. I did it on purpose. Start with the best seed fowl that you've got. But for people that have not watched our show before, the main question is, what if I got two mongrels? What am I going to do? Can I start with that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I believe you can start a strain from any cock and hen. Now, obviously, the better they are, the better progress you're going to make and the faster you're going to get to your goal. So it's important to start with the best birds possible, with birds that are of the same breed, the same variety, share the same characteristics, because it's really tough to create a strain when you've got two birds that have contrasting characteristics, like different color of feather, different leg color, different comb types, sometimes even a different breed. Because a lot of times you just don't know what you're going to get and how they're going to turn out. A lot of times when you go to get what we call the Adam and Eve, which is your seed fowl, very seldom is it possible to actually go to a breeder and get a cock and hen. Or if you do, get them where they're from the same family, that they're pure and they're related. Because a lot of times you're getting either a cock and hen that are unrelated from different families, different strains, or sometimes you're getting a cock and hen that are from different breeders. And so you're forced to make a family from that. And that's what the Founders Program is all about.
Okay, I got a question for you on that. In the 15 rules of selective breeding, shouldn't this be in there? Start with something that is pleasing to the eye, because you're the one who's going to be spending years perpetuating that strain and developing that strain.
You're not going to want to create a strain or put the time and effort into it, or even the money, if you don't like them. Nancy and I talk about all the time that she's always bringing up the questions that I don't answer because I have what I call the curse of knowledge. Meaning, I know what I know, but I assume everybody knows what I know. So sometimes I don't cover everything because I think they're up to speed with me right off the bat. And so that's what Nancy's job's been since the very beginning, is to make sure that I'm covering everything in a way that's answering everybody's questions. Yeah, that would be something I overlooked, because to me that'd be obvious that you're not going to try to create a family from a bunch of birds that you don't like or you don't have an interest in them. That's one of the things I tell people is take your time looking for the right birds. Don't just go out and just buy the first bird. Do your homework. Think about what you want. What color do you want? What breed do you want? What do you want them to look like? Once you figure that out, get to know the standard of perfection and get an idea of the true structure of the bird, the form of the bird and what they're all about, so that you're up to speed on every time you go to select them, you know what to select for and that you're able to progress them. And that way it'll help you with the selection process too. To me, that's an important part. I just assumed everybody thinks about that already.
Not only that, do your homework on the breeder. Whatever breeder that you decide to choose to go with, do your homework on them. Know the ins and outs of their breeding. Ask questions, but know the answers before you ask the questions, so you can tell whether or not he's bluffing you, so to speak.
And don't assume just because they have a big name that they know what they're talking about or they have good birds. I think everybody assumes that they automatically know what they're talking about, they automatically have good birds, that you're going to get those birds. And I wouldn't assume that from anybody. And if you can possibly go pick them out yourself, then I suggest you do that. If you are a member of the Breeders' Academy, go on the website, check out some of the programs and courses that have to do with selection, have to do with defects and disqualifications, have to do with conformation of body and structure, the proper color of the bird. Really get to know the breed. For American Games, we have that all on the website. Get to know your breed, get to know the form and function and structure of the breed, so that when you go to select them, you go there with some education. And the last thing you want to do is rely on the other breeder. Now, everybody says, he knows his birds better than you do, then I have to rely on him. Man, I would never want to be in that position where I've got to rely on them to pick out my birds, because they're not always looking out for your best interest, even if they sound like they are. I want to go there educated with some knowledge. I want to know what I'm looking for. Some of the advice they're going to give you, this is a Hatch Kelso cross or a Kelso sweater cross. This is what's good. Don't rely on that. And it doesn't matter what they're called or what's in them at this point when you're talking about your seed fowl. What you're looking for are birds that best represent their breed, because what's in them is in them. The only time that matters is when you're matching them up. Let's say you're looking at a cock. I want to match them up to the right hen so that I'm getting the offspring that I'm looking for. The way the Founders Program is set up is to clean that up, because a lot of times they are going to be crosses or mongrels. They are going to be the product of hybridization or mongrelization. A lot of times you're not going to get a well-established strain. Even if you do, expect them to change when you get them, and understand what kind of traits do change, which traits do change and which are a little more stable. So that when you take them home and you breed them and you get different characters coming out, then you understand why. It could be epigenetics. It could be the fact that they're in a different geographical area. That's going to change the genes on which are expressed. The fact that they may not be related, you're going to get unpredictability in the offspring completely. And you got to know what to do with that. But I think the last thing you want to do is pay attention to the name that they're giving it. Pay attention to the bird, how they're structured. Do they look healthy? Do you see any defects? That's a big thing. They got to represent their breed too. I don't care what breed we're talking about. They have to represent their breed.
Okay, here's a question for you, Kenny. I don't know that you've answered this one yet. So you're picking out your seed fowl. There are traits that you can see. There are traits that you can't see, the recessive and the dominant traits that you've got. What traits that you can see that you want to stay away from? No, I am not taking that bird with me. Other than health, are there some traits that you would just totally stay away from?
Anything that doesn't represent the breed, obviously if they're sick, any defects that you might see. On the website, we have something like between 80 and 90 defects that we list and we explain them. We show you what they are. We even talk about how to fix them.
Yeah, but can't some defects you can live with?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
And stuff, and some you just like, So which ones would those be?
I know where you're going. Now, when it comes to dominant recessive traits, you either select for them or you cull them out. So you got to decide when they're expressing those kind of traits, is that trait important to you or is it something you're going to want to change down the road? Now, the traits that I think Nancy's talking about would be like polygenic traits. We call those form and function traits. If they're form traits, then we're looking at the conformation of body, the carriage, the station, the overall structure of the bird, the type. Those are the things you can see. Those are fixable over time, but most polygenic traits are what we, like Nancy says, the ones we can't see. And those are the function traits. And the only way to tell what you're getting there is if you test them.
What traits are not fixable over time?
I'm not sure what you're trying to get to.
Okay. Say you're picking a pair and everything is good on them except they have duck toe. Or say everything is good on the pair that you want to choose, but the hen has low tail, rye tail, squirrel tail. Are there specific traits that you can see that you're like, no, because this is not something that I can fix over time?
Okay.
And what are they?
Most of the traits you just mentioned, the defects, are just recessive traits. So if you see them, you don't want them, you don't want to breed to them. Okay, I'm not going to list all of them. There's just too many.
Okay.
Now, if you have rye tail, that's a big one. I wouldn't breed to a bird that has rye tail for no reason. If it has squirrel tail, that's a polygenic trait. I don't like it, but I can fix it over time. So those for sure. But most of the ones you just mentioned are just simple recessive traits that once you start breeding them and you start matching them up with other birds sharing the same recessive trait, you're going to perpetuate in the offspring. Crooked breastbone. I don't like it, but I can fix it over time. Squirrel tail. I don't like it, but I can fix it over time.
Short back.
Yeah, I can fix that over time. Okay. Conformation, type, those can be changed over time. But you got to know what to look for. It's not something you're going to fix in a generation or two. It's going to take some time to do it. But it's nearly impossible to find the perfect bird. You're going to have to accept some things. And understanding which are monogenic, like dominant recessive, which are either you select for or you cull it out or you exaggerate it. The polygenic traits are ones that I can fix over time, but I have to know what I'm looking for, and I have to select for the highest intensity to get there. I kind of stutter, I hold back because I feel like I'm repeating myself over and over again. And I try to get away from that only because I want to cover new stuff, but I know these are important things. These are things that a lot of people need to know.
Yeah, and we always have new people in here
You
watching
remember
the
that
show.
too.
Yeah, you do need to remember that. And you do have some in here that aren't actual members yet. They're on the fence. So any information that you talk about is going to be good information. Elijah is just going on what I was trying to get out of you as well, is what are the top defects that are a total no-no?
These are the defects that we list on the website that we talk about. We show you examples of, we show you what to do, which ones you need to get rid of, which are dominant recessive, which are polygenic. Anything that's a recessive defect, which is most of them, you don't want to breed to. You definitely want to stay away from as much as possible. There is a way to get around it, but you're going to fight it for a while. If I find a bird that has duck toe, a lot of people don't even know what that is. On the website, we'll show you. Let's say it has duck toe, then I definitely don't want to breed it to another bird with duck toe because I'm going to perpetuate the offspring and it's not going to come and go at that point. It's going to be there forever. So anytime I'm dealing with a recessive gene, I want to stay away from it. Like a defect is recessive. A lot of the ones I think of all the time are polygenic and they can be fixed over time because I'm just selecting the 2 birds that have the best trait for that, like squirrel tail. So if I have a cock with squirrel tail, I'm going to look for a hen that has a really good tail or vice versa. Or I'm going to find the 2 birds on my farm that have the 2 best tails, even though they're not exactly perfect, I'm going to get there. But to breed to extremes, to breed to a high tail versus a low tail, those have separate traits. You're not going to breed those and get something in the middle. You're going to get both of them because they are traits. They're actual traits. But I'm trying to think, a regular pupil, I want to stay away from, definitely. That could be genetic. That could be Merrick's. Sunken eye. I'm trying to think of the ones I see the most. Curled toes, duck toe, rye tail, crooked back or humpback. I'm trying to stay away from the polygenic traits because they can be fixed over time. A lot of people freak out over those kind of things. Bow-legged's a polygenic trait. So those are the ones I would probably watch out for the most. But like I said, there's 88 of them. Understanding which are dominant, which are recessive, which are polygenic will change the way you select them and breed them and improve them after that. Because they're not all handled the same way. If it's a recessive, and the list on the website will show you which are recessive, you want to cull those as fast as you can.
What about sparrowbeak or crossbeak?
Crossbeak is a defect. It's a recessive defect. Sparrowbeak is a polygenic trait.
Here's a question for you. Could you see these defects in your courses with examples?
Yeah.
Yes, I do believe we do have examples inside the Breeders Academy.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Okay, the other one is make sure the cock matches a hen. And we talked about this already. You want to make sure that you're not pairing up a cock and hen that are completely different. They need to share as many traits as possible. And it's going to be easier to move forward, and you're going to get more progress if they share the same traits. If they're of the same breed and don't have contrasting characteristics, you're going to get there faster. So they should be the same breed. They should be the same variety. They should share the same characteristics. Color of eyes, color of feather, color of leg. They should have the same comb type. Now, age is interesting because when you're selecting a cock and hen, especially from another breeder, the last thing you want to do is select a cock and hen that are both old because that's going to be really tough to create a strain from that. Now, can I buy a really young cock and hen or like a stag and pullet and move forward with those? I'd wait till they mature, but that would be much easier than old birds. The best thing to do, especially when you're getting your strain going, is to breed to youth. So I'm always looking to breed a cock to a young hen or a hen to a young cock or a stag. If I understand the family, I can predict their results and I have a good idea how they're going to turn out. If I'm dealing with a stag that I have no idea about, I have no information about, no experience with, then I'll probably wait till it's older because when you don't know the birds, they can change so much over time. So obviously, a lot of the change comes between the time they hatch to 6 months old. That's probably going to be the biggest changes. The growth between 6 months and a year is a little bit on the structure of the bird, but a little bit of filling out. From a year to 2 years, or at least a year to 18 months, there's some fine tuning that goes on as they mature. So unless you understand your birds, I would not breed them when they're young. I wouldn't breed a pullet as something that I'm going to create a strain or move forward with. But I don't mind breeding a pullet as a test mating to see what I get. So if I have a pullet and I'm a little anxious to see what I'm going to get from her from a particular mating, I might go ahead and breed her to a cock to see what I get, but I wouldn't plan on keeping those offspring. I really like waiting till the hens are mature, especially. And I'm going to get much better offspring. She's going to prove herself by that time, especially the hens. They change quite a bit from the time they're 12 months to 2 years old.
Just in maturity, but not only that, when you're breeding pullet, you're talking smaller eggs as well.
That too. But if you waited a few months or maybe even a couple months, the eggs do get a little bit bigger. Not as big as, let's say, a mature hen, but they do get a little bit bigger. But there's so much to see from the hen before she's actually trusted with producing offspring and be offspring that I can move forward with. Because she may not be broody. She might not have the best instincts. She can change quite a bit. I've seen so many people say, I breed to pullets because they look better when they're that age. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The fact that they can change quite a bit from the time they're pullets to the time they're hens, that's going to be expressed in the offspring. Mitochondrial DNA is judged or determined by whether the hen is healthy, active, whether she produces offspring that are healthy and active, and she never gets sick. And because she has good mitochondrial DNA, the fact that she doesn't get sick, the chances of her offspring won't get sick too. So those are the kind of things I'm always looking for before I determine whether a hen is going to be a brood hen or something I'm just going to get rid of. I've got a whole mess of hens out there that I'm holding on to just for the fact that I need to wait till they're mature to go through them. In the meantime, I'm just collecting eggs so that we have eggs to eat and that I have eggs I can feed back to the chickens. Unless I see a serious defect right away or I see serious issues, because I know my family, I know they're not going to get better. If she's laying, I'll hold on to her for right now. She'll be put in the pen just for the eggs so we could eat them. But as soon as that's over, I'll probably get rid of her. So I do take some time with the hens before I determine whether I'm going to keep them and breed to them down the road.
I want to hear what your advice is for this one. My Adam and Eve both have polygenic traits that he doesn't like. Slight downtail on the cock, decent but not great wing angle on the hen, but it's what he can afford. His gut says that this is not his Adam and Eve. So what should he do?
If that's all you can get, those are traits that I can fix over time. So if that's all you can get, then I have no problem moving forward if you're willing to select hard, cull hard, and that means hatch as many chicks from that as you can manage and afford, because you're going to be looking for the very few that are the best. I want to pick the ones that are the closest to my ideal bird. So out of the offspring that I'm going to get from that, because sometimes the hen will cover for the cock on some traits and the cock will cover for the hen on other traits. The fact that we're talking about polygenic, we're going to see variation in the offspring, which is good. This is going to work in your favor. Now, dominant, recessive, they can either work for you or against you. Understanding which one is which is important. So you can cull the bad ones right away. But the fact that we're dealing with a lot of the ones he's talking about here are polygenic because we're going to see variation in offspring. All we're doing is looking for the ones that are the best. We're not going to breed to all of them. We're going to try to get as many offspring as we can from these guys. And we're going to grow them up as much as we can so we get a good look at them. And we're going to pick the ones with the best tails and the best wings. And then we're going to move forward with those. And then I suggest that you use something like the Founders Program to actually create the strain from there. Because we have a 3-phase process, but it's divided into 6 stages. And each stage has particular function and a particular purpose to move your strain forward. We have a cleanup process, we have a transformation phase, and then we have a foundation phase. I don't want to say what the stages are, but I can tell you what the phases are. Because those are polygenic traits, it works in your favor. You can actually improve them from there. But you got to hatch enough chicks to select from so that you can find those. Because if you only hatch a clutch or a handful of chicks, then you're forced to take whatever you get and breed to those. And that's not a good place to be. You want to have enough chicks to select properly so you can cull hard. That gives you a good selection. Think about it this way. I only need one male and female to move forward. And they just got to be the best ones out of that. The fact that they're polygenic, you're going to get variation. So you're going to see all kinds of stuff. And if they're unrelated, you're really going to get some variation. But like I said, the fact that they're polygenic, it's going to work in your favor. Now, polygenic are multi-gene traits. They're measurable, so they're quantitative. The fact that there's variation makes them quantitative and measurable. So that works in your favor. The only problem, I would say, is you're not going to fix any of that in 1 or 2 generations. This is something that you're going to have to do a number of generations. You may not see progress for 3 or 4 generations, but don't give up. Obviously, there's something about those birds, or you wouldn't move forward with them, although they do have faults. Very few of us are able to get birds that don't have some faults. It's knowing which faults are detrimental or deleterious and which I can work with down the road.
Okay, so he's a member.
Oh, good.
Christopher's a member, and he's tracking the stages. My thought is in 2 years of waiting on my first generation to mature, I could just save the money and use it to get better birds.
Sure. If you can get better birds, always get better birds.
Okay, so he has options, but if he doesn't have any options and this is all he has, he can still move forward with that.
Or work on both of them. Because although you don't have those other birds, you do have these birds now. Start using them If you get others and they're doing better, then get rid of these. The only thing I would say is all the experimentation is in the first and second stage of the program. Once you get past that, you don't want to experiment anymore. You want to selectively breed them and just follow the program to improve them and make a strain out of them, especially when you get into the foundation stage. There should be no experimentations. The only experimentation you should be doing is with a separate line, which we call subline. And that's the only way I would do it. Never experiment with the foundation line.
Okay. You have a clutch of pullets. How do you choose the ones that you're going to want to move forward with? Temperament-wise, personality-wise?
Understanding the breed and the traits and the genetic factors of those traits.
If your goal is to get pullets that become hens that have really good temperament, are really good with their chicks, and they just have lots of good energy, the cheerleader type, what do you look for when they're pullets?
Obvious defects. When they're just young pullets, it's hard to select for some of the things you just said because they do need to mature first for me to see them. Obvious defects especially. But I'd be watching out for temperament and behavior. So if they're flighty and high strung, I'd probably get rid of those. If they're getting up to 8 months to a year and they're not showing at least decent conformation, I would probably get rid of them. You just need to understand your breed and you need to grow them out. And as you see problems, you get rid of them.
Okay, so flighty would mean that they're going to produce man fighter offspring?
A lot of times, a lot of your man fighters do come from high-strung, flighty hens.
Okay, so you're watching them as pullets. As they're getting closer to that 2 years, are they allowing the rooster to mount them? If they do go broody, are they being good mamas? All the things that a hen should be like is what you want to select.
So we're still talking about making sure the cock matches the hen. Forget the name, because the name means nothing. They can be different names. I'm going to say it again. They mean nothing, but you can call them different things. They can come from different people, and one could be a Hatch or Kelso. But if they share the same characteristics, then we're good to go. It doesn't matter, because Adam and Eve doesn't have to be related. It doesn't have to be pure. It can be a cross. It can be a mongrel. It doesn't matter as long as they represent their breed and they share the same characteristics. So forget the name. Here's the other thing, too. If you select the right cock and hen, if you at least select a decent cock and hen to move forward with, it represents what you're looking for, represents a breed, is healthy, doesn't have a defect, is not substandard, then the need for gene shopping and creating your own Adam and Eve out of multiple birds isn't necessary. Now, sometimes you want a specific bird. You want a bird with a specific comb type, a different color, a certain breed, whatever. I understand. Then there's some gene shopping that has to go on, and then you create your own Adam and Eve from that. Now, inside the Breeders' Academy, we have a program called Gene Shopping, which we show you how to do it. It's not what you guys would think. I mean, I could say gene shopping, and you go, oh, I know how to do that. I'll just breed this to that and bring in all these different traits and gather them all up. But there's a process to it. There's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it. I don't want any misconceptions. I want you to understand that there is an actual process for gene shopping. But if you select the right cock and hen from the beginning, then the need for gene shopping is not necessary.
When you're putting your Adam and Eve together, I know color isn't the most important aspect to be thinking about, but if you are breeding silver duckwings, there is a type of color hen that you need to have to pursue the right color for a silver duckling.
Yeah, a lot of people get mixed up. And we've learned this one big time on the Breeders' Academy. We're working with Brian Reeder, and he's educating me quite a bit on the creation and the improvement of color. A lot of it I knew, but there's a few things that just blew me away because I actually thought it was different, and he cleared up. But manipulation of color is interesting in that depending on what direction you want to go will depend on whether you're going to get there or not. So let's say I have a red family, but they're showing some progressive white, and I want to clean up the progressive white. But the birds I have at the moment, all I keep getting is a progressive white. I can't seem to clean it up. Everywhere I go, the reds that I'm looking for, they either are expressing progressive white or they come from a family that express progressive white. And one of the breeds that I can actually breed to, let's say I'm working on a red family, I can actually breed to a silver family, like a silver duckwing. If it's like a good silver duckwing that has great conformation of body, it's not carrying the progressive white. And this would all be in the beginning, by the way. This is not something I do in the middle of the Founders Program. This is at the very beginning. So if I breed that red to a gray, and I look at the offspring, and I start breeding the reds that come out of it to the reds. And I take advantage of that great conformation of body that I got from the gray. And I start getting the reds that aren't showing the progressive white, yet they have the good conformation. Then I can create a family from that. So understanding the colors and how they work and what direction I can go and which way I can't go. Because if you have a gray family, you can't fix them by putting red in them. Red's only going to make them worse. And there's a certain hen that we need to look for to improve the gray that a lot of people don't realize. Let's put it this way. I'm not going to go all the way into it, but I'll tell you this. If you're trying to improve the color of your gray, in hens with any warmth or red, what Brian calls autosomal pheomelanin, you're just going to produce cocks with red in the shoulder or red leakage and things like that. You don't want that. You need to find the hens that have no warmth, no red, nothing like that. They have to be white, gray, or like cool colors, he likes to say. Anything that shows any warmth, even one feather, you're going to be going in the wrong direction. You're going to ruin your grays. So if you're trying to improve the gray color, get rid of any hen showing warmth or any red or salmon or anything like that.
And for you members, we do discuss that with Brian Reeder.
Yeah, we have a masterclass video that goes into the improvement and creation of grays. It's a really good one too.
Speaking of videos, you were talking about gene shopping, and I just want to pull this one up. Hey, I'm a member. Gene shopping course. Where is it located?
Right now, Dan, it's in the masterclass videos. So it's a video right now. I'm going to be going through that again, and we're going to improve the written part of it and add the banners. The video does have banners that goes with it, but we're going to improve the written side of it, improve the banners, and then we're going to redo the video. The video is pretty good. Frank and I talk about gene shopping, and we go into depth. There's a lot of great illustrations, but we are going to fix it up and make it better. So check it out. It should be in the masterclass video. It could be in the members roundtable page, but I'm pretty sure it's a masterclass video, but we are going to improve on it. Just know, I'm going to tell you right now, it's something I used to create my black pearls. I didn't realize what I was doing when I created the black pearls, but I realized what I was doing was gene shopping. And after talking to Brian, and he was telling me how gene shopping works and the way he feels about it, I was like, oh my God, that's what I did with my black pearls. So I started putting it on paper and seeing how it worked out. Then I sent it to Brian, I sent it to Frank, and I sent it to a couple of members, and they all loved it. Even Brian. He said, that's what I did with my experimentations. That's what I used. He even said a lot of the Founders Program is what he was using too. So I was like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? It gave me the confidence to go forward because on paper it looked great. The science looked good. And it's what I did with my black pearls. And then Frank said that's what he was doing with one of his strains too. So check it out. Just know where I was trying to go with it is it's not something that's fast. The whole idea of gene shopping is to create your Adam and Eve so that you can go into the Founders Program and move forward. It's not a quick process. This takes time. This is a program all in itself, just to create your Adam and Eve. So it's not a quick fix at all, but it's cool the way it works. Frank and I were calling it the Frankenstein effect. That's what I put inside the program when I created it, the Frankenstein effect. But it's a very interesting method, actually. Yeah. Okay, the next one is breed for the complete package. Now, we were talking a little bit about this earlier, but this is really important because a lot of people want to get fixated on one trait or the other, or one behavior or the other. Like they worry all about performance ability, but they don't want to pay attention to conformation of body. They don't realize it's the whole package that counts. And then I get people saying, if I pay attention to the whole package, when I breed a bunch of chicks, that's like only a few birds that even come close to that. That's what you want. That's the whole idea of it. You want to select the birds that are as close to the complete package as possible and breed to those. You don't want to breed to all those other birds that are substandard. You don't want to breed a bird that excels in one area but is deficient in another. They call that tandem selection. It's one of the worst ways to improve a strain because while you're fixing one thing or focusing on one thing, you're ruining them in other ways. And it just does not sustain itself. Eventually, they're going to burn out. The birds that can excel in one area but are deficient in another will eventually not even be proficient in the one trait. And then a lot of people go, okay, they're not doing what they were doing before. They're faulty now. I guess that's when I bring in outside blood. That's the last thing you want to do, especially when you have something that's a foundation straight. You don't want to do that. The idea is to look for health and vigor, Because if they're not healthy and vigorous, you can't progress a strain, you can't even improve a strain. They have to have good health. If you get birds from someone that, and this is the case, we just had someone ask this a second ago, this is all I can afford right now. This is all I'm able to get. I hear that a lot. So if you can find someone that has healthy birds, then get them. If not, and they're relying on medications, then you may have to medicate those for a while until you get birds on the ground and slowly work them away from the medications. But you got to find the healthiest birds possible, and you got to get them to a point where they're not needing those medications. So that's number one. The next thing, if you look at the standard, it's really important that they have the proper form and structure. They have to have the right type and conformation. That's the number one thing, because without that, they don't represent their breed. No matter what breed they are, they have to look the part. They have to represent their breed, and that's all in the shape and outline of the bird and the parts in their proper places. That's type, conformation of body, that's carriage, that's station. Those are all really important.
When you were talking about birds with specific faults, you didn't mention what the faults were, but I'm not asking that question. What I'm asking is, can you bring those faults up to par by breeding? Yeah, my question is
I shouldn't have asked.
About 5 minutes ago. But.
Okay. Let's answer those kind of things at the end. So when I get to end of each one, you can bring up those kind of things.
Okay, I got to star myself because that's actually my question.
Okay, let's do it that way. I thought you were going to comment. If you see questions in the area we're at, then you bring it up.
Yes,
but I'll
sir.
ask you afterwards. Okay. The next one would be breed characteristics. Like we said, they have to represent their breed. They have to have the right performance ability, the right production ability. They have to do the things that the breed's meant to do, no matter what the breed is. They represent their breed, but now they have to represent their variety. This can mean many things to different breeds, but American Games, we have about 25 to 30 different varieties. If you look at the Old English game, there's probably, probably 100. I don't know. There's so many. But what makes up the different varieties is the plumage color, the leg color, the eyes, the comb type. Anytime you have a particular breed that has a different variety, they excel in those particular things. Like the black-breasted reds, like my Maximus line. They are pea-comb reds with green leg. Now, a lot of people that have other varieties of American Games, they might be red and green leg, but they might be straight comb. That's a different variety. So you have to look for those kind of things. And then the right temperament, behaviors, production, and performance ability. Those are your function traits. So look for the bird with the complete package as much as possible. All the chicks that you're hatching out, grow them out the best you can. Select the few that stand out. Those are the ones you're going to move forward with. If you're only hatching a few, chances are you're going to probably end up breeding to all of them, and you're just not going to make progress that way.
Goes along with hatch as many as you can afford.
These all complement each other. They really do.
Kenny and I were talking about this outline before we went on tonight, and the subject matter that's coming up next is hatch as many as you can manage and afford. He says it all the time, which it's very true. That's what you need to do. And my question to Kenny was, even before hatching out your birds as many as you can afford, look at the lay of the land. Look at your yard, your farm. How many pens can you fit on the yard? And you said something that was a little contradicting to what I was talking about. It doesn't matter how many pens you have there because you're going to be doing a constant culling throughout the lifespan of your strain. Do you want to elaborate on that? Because I'm sure you can explain it a lot better than me.
I was talking about hatching as many as you can manage forward. What if you only have so many pens? Then you can't manage that many. But understand too, let's say you have 30 pens to work with. Some people don't have that many. I'm just going to make up a number, 30 pens. But you're hatching out more birds than you can manage. And I was telling Nancy, remember though, that after you hatch them and grow them, and as they're developing, you're going to be culling through them as you go. So you do want to hatch maybe a little more than you think you can manage because you're going to cull through them and you're going to bring that number down. And the whole idea is to say, okay, let's say I hatched 200 or 300 chicks. Let's say 300 chicks that year. And my goal is to bring them down to the top 10% because that's the birds I want to move forward with. So I'm going to be culling them as I can. So anytime I see a bird that needs to be culled, I cull it. If I see a defect or I see a sick bird, I'm culling those as I go. My idea is to weed them down, get them down to that low number. Once I get them to the top 10%, those are the birds I'm going to grow out and mature. Out of that, I'm going to select the standouts. It's the standouts that I'm going to use to progress my strain, to make my strain and progress my strain. Now, let's say I culled out all the faults, all the defects, all the deleterious genes, anything that's sick, anything substandard. I moved aside the 10% that I want to keep, and I have all these extra birds. Those are the birds. If they represent their breed, they're not substandard, they're not sick, they don't show any defects. Those are good birds to sell. Those are good birds to give away. Those are the birds that would be good for other people to move forward with. Just don't sell your standouts. Don't sell the top 10% yet. Once you pull out the standouts at the end, when they're like a year and a half or 2 years old, then the ones that are extra there, those are your backups. You're going to hold on to a lot of those. You might be able to sell a few of them, but you want your A birds, which are your potential brood fowl. You want your B birds, which are your backups, and anything after that, which are your C birds. Those are the ones that you can take to the show. Those are the ones you can sell, the ones you can give away, those kind of things.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to mention. The seabirds are the ones that you're going to take to the show because those are the ones most likely you're not going to bring home. But your seabirds should be just as good as your A birds.
I'm not going to say just as good, Nancy, but they should be pretty decent birds.
Pretty close.
They're not going to be your standouts, but they're going to be good birds. Now, Nancy knows that because she says, anytime I took birds to the show, they were always my seabirds, and I won shows with those.
Yeah.
They weren't my best. I never took my best birds, and I never brought those birds back home, ever. Yeah.
It's just too dangerous at this point with AI going on. Actually, right now, I don't believe they're actually having shows, at least in California.
I was talking to Dr. Gallardo. He's going to be coming on hopefully pretty soon. We're going to be talking about AI and some other things. He hasn't been on in maybe a year. We did a lot of episodes with each other and covered a lot of different topics. He does want to start with AI, and we're going to get back to working with each other. I wished him a happy birthday. He goes, hey, Kenny, we need to start working with each other. I go, you're right, we do. I'm waiting on you. So now he's going to let me know when he's available, and we're going to get together again. Yeah, Peter Brown, we were talking about AI is pretty nasty right now. And my fear is that they're going to start forcing people to vaccinate. I don't know if they'll force us, but they might encourage you to. I don't know if I would do that. I would just try to keep your birds safe and protect them as much as possible. I don't know if showing birds is a good idea right now. So,
yeah, but it's a good time to get your strain really up and running and perfected for the future to when you can go back to showing your birds.
But when you're hatching as many as you can manage and afford, it's just a really cool way to get enough birds that you can select properly, and then you can cull hard without worrying about losing them all. But understand this too, that the numbers gives you a lot of options. Now, here's another thing you can do too, because sometimes when you're dealing with birds that are unrelated, you're dealing with birds with a lot of contrasting characteristics. Sometimes you get offspring that are so different from each other, especially when it comes to color, and maybe even comb type, that you might be able to create a whole separate strain. You could have this strain over here and this strain over there. And the fact that they are different, I would never bring them back to each other. But it does give you kind of options. And then you say, okay, I've got 3 different types coming out of these. I like them all. Let me create 3 separate strains. And then down the road, you might say, okay, I've been working on these for about 3 years. I like this one better. Okay, I'm going to get rid of these 2 or something like that. That works fine if you can manage the space and the time and the money, but never bring them back to each other, ever, because you're just going to ruin them. The next one is make sure the offspring are better than the parents. You would think this is common sense, but a lot of people miss this one. Again, they get the offspring, they look at them, and they're either not better than the parents. I guess I better just get rid of them. Or they're not better than the parents. I'll just go ahead and breed them and see where I go. Or they're better than the parents. I don't know what to do. The idea is to get the best brood fowl, the best seed fowl, the best Adam and Eve possible so that I'm getting good offspring. And it doesn't have to be all the offspring. It doesn't have to be the whole clutch or the whole batch. I just need a hen and a rooster or a brother and sister that are better than the mother and father to move forward. They have to be at least as good, but they should be better. So this is something I want to do each generation. That's the only way I know if I'm progressing. That's the only way I know if I'm moving forward is if the offspring are better. Let's say in the beginning when I'm dealing with birds that aren't related, a lot of times the offspring are going to be miles better than the parents. And a lot of times because they are unrelated, it's because of hybrid vigor. So it is a little deceiving. It doesn't truly represent who they really are, but you can only do with what you got. So you look at them, it's the phenotype that we're working off of, and that's how we select them, and that's how we move forward. If you just keep doing that each generation, you're going to progress. Now, let's say I'm moving forward, the offspring are better than the parents, and all of a sudden I get that 1 year where they're not. What do? A lot of people say, I got to breed something, I guess I'll just breed them and move forward, or try to move forward the best I can. The last thing you want to do is breed to those birds that are worse. Sometimes you're going to have to scrap that generation, change the matings, and regroup and start over. And then the next year, hopefully it'll be better. And if not, then we have to rethink what we're doing, or we have to look at the birds that we're working with and ask ourselves, okay, why are we having these kind of issues? There's something we did in the beginning or through the cleanup process that create this issue. So we need to examine the program. We examine what we did, the birds that we use. Maybe we didn't clean them up enough.
How many generations do you let the offspring from that Adam Eve go before you scrap it and start over with something else? 5 years?
No, it's not like that. So when it comes to the Founders Program, I have no problem talking about the first couple stages because that's not the program. The meat of the program's further in. But this part's important. And that is, not only do I want to select the best seed fowl possible, and I may spend a lot of money on them. I may go to a breeder who's very expensive, is supposed to be well-known and established, and I may pay thousands of dollars. And this is the kicker. When you breed those, and they are your Adam and Eve, chances are you're going to produce offspring from them, and you may never use them again. That's the hard part. Now, there's a chance you may have to use them again. So if I bred them together, and I produce offspring, and they're not better than the parents, because if they were, I would just move forward from there and get rid of the Adam and Eve or put them off the side. I'd probably never use them again. But if they're not, then I would do a back cross. I would take the best from that offspring. I would determine the mother and father. I would determine who's better. Because what a back cross is breeding a parent to their hybrid offspring. And you can do a number of back crossings till you get what you want. But a lot of times all you need to do is one or two. Now, a lot of people confuse back crossing with line breeding because it looks similar. Line breeding is breeding its common ancestor to its offspring generation after generation till you get to a point where they're cloned. The only problem is line breeding by itself like that isn't as useful as you think it is. There's a process that you need to do to actually make it useful. It's an important process, but it has to be done right. Now, back crossing is different because you're not breeding a common ancestor to its offspring generation after generation because they're usually tighter. Back crossing is breeding a parent to its hybrid offspring to get a little more from the parent. Problem is, a lot of people say, okay, I've got this Adam and Eve, the offspring need a little more, so now I'm going to breed the pullets to their father and the stags to their mother. And the only way I would do that is if I'm testing to see who's better. But I would never move forward with both. Chances are, if you really looked at them close enough, you would see that there's a difference between the two and one's better than the other. So let's say in this case, the hen's better than the cock. So I'm going to look for the best stags. I'm going to breed them to her. I'm going to look at the offspring. I'm going to ask myself, are they better than the parent at that point? Is it better than her? And if they are, then I'm going to move forward from there. And then she's done her job and she's done. That's the only way I would use the seed fowl further than the first generation or the first P1 mating, I guess you could say. And that's hard for some people because they just want to breed the heck out of the birds that they bought. They want to get the most out of them, but they don't know where to go. They don't know how to create a family from that. They want to jump right into line breeding. I'd say 99% of the times, those birds weren't ready to be line bred. There's a lot of genetic diversity just sitting there waiting to come out, to be expressed. And the idea is to clean that up. And you can't clean it up by using the same birds over and over again. You got to move forward. So that's a hard one for people. I'll tell you one thing. If you're breeding those seed fowl, you pay $2,000 or $3,000 for them, and you keep breeding them, and you keep bringing to their offspring, and you still see genetic diversity, variation, different traits coming out, contrasting characteristics, then there's some issues with them. They either weren't pure, the birds weren't related, or there's just a lot of genetic diversity that just was never cleaned up. If you've line bred them for numerous generations and you're still getting those contrasting characteristics, that variation, that genetic diversity, then you didn't accomplish anything. You didn't create a strain. You didn't move forward. You just didn't add new blood. You're going to have to get to a point when you clean them up. So if I'm looking for offspring that are better than the parents and they're not, and I keep breeding to them, that's regression. Or I keep moving forward and that's degeneration. So the idea is I want progression. I want the offspring to be better than the parents. I know I'm going in the right direction and I can move forward. If I see the offspring that are not better than the parents, that's degeneration, regression, and I'm going in the wrong direction. And it's not going to get better, I'm telling you. It's just not. You're going to be spinning your wheels. You're going to understand why they're not getting better. And I'm talking about the complete package. I'm talking about the health, the conformation and type, the carriage, the station. I'm talking about the behaviors, the temperament, the performance ability, the production ability. I'm talking about all of that. If that's not better than the parents, then you're moving backwards.
You know me, I like to give numbers, and you're still not giving numbers. You're not seeing improvement after how many breedings?
So if I'm in the beginning and you want numbers, the numbers would be in how many times do I back cross?
Okay.
As many as I need to.
Okay, moving on.
No, let's just say this. A lot of times I can back cross and get what I need in one generation.
True.
In the B1 generation. But I may need to go to the BC2 or the BC3 or the BC4 to finally get to where I feel that they're better. Okay, here's the determinant right here. How good were the seed fowl when you bought them? Did you get the best seed fowl possible, or did you get seed fowl with a lot of faults?
Most likely people got seed fowl with a lot of faults.
And a lot of times they don't know the faults that are in there because the person you got them from weren't cleaning up in the first place, and they didn't show up. They may not even show up in the first generation. They may show up in the second generation. You got to do your back crossing. You have to do it as many times as needed to get to the point when the offspring are better than the parents. And it could mean multiple BC generations. It all depends on the quality of the bird you start with, Nancy.
Okay, fine.
I thought I answered it, but I guess I didn't.
You win. No, you probably did. This is just me being anal about I need years.
Let me say this real quick. The offspring will tell you a lot about the parents, especially in the beginning. So one of the things I say is if the offspring aren't better than the parents, what am I seeing? Are they just lower quality? That could be the age of the hen. That could be whether the cock and hen nicked at all. Or am I seeing serious defects and disqualifications and sicknesses? That tells me a lot about the parents right there. So when the offspring aren't better than the parents for whatever reason, those offspring are telling me what I need to know about the parents and whether I should go forward with them or scrap them and start with something new. That's something else to think about too.
I know I used to have a huge problem with these guys. They save their money up and they get a trio for $1,200. And you're telling me it's a one and done kind of thing, or a one and a couple more kind of thing. And then you're done with the Adam and Eve and you're moving forward. But I really do get it now because you're trying to move forward. You're trying to take the best traits from the cock and the hen and move forward down the line. And if you keep bringing it back to the Adam and Eve, all you're doing is incorporating all the genes that you're trying to shoo out of your strains. I get that too.
If I'm numerous generations in, like Nancy said, and I breed that offspring generations later back to the original seed fowl that I bought, like she said, I'm reintroducing everything that I was weeding out and making better. So it doesn't really pay. That's why I don't think sometimes a lot of these birds that are $2,000 and $3,000 a pair or trio are worth it. That's a lot of money to pay when chances are I'm going to have to clean them up quite a bit to make a family out of them. So if you understand the breed, you understand what to look for, you can get good and bad birds on a good breeder's yard or a so-called good breeder's yard, and you can get good and bad birds on a peddler's yard. You just got to know what to look for, and then you know whether you can move forward with them or not.
Well, let me ask you this question. Can you utilize that Adam and Eve in other ways? Like for the hen, you can use her as a surrogate mother. You can use her as a hatching eggs for you. You slip some eggs underneath her and she'll hatch.
That's not going to make them feel better. They spent thousands of dollars for them to be a...
Wait, I'm just trying to think of ways that people could actually still use that Adam and Eve. If it's a domestic breed, the hen can still produce a lot of eggs. Now, somebody was asking here earlier, how many eggs does a gamefowl hen usually lay in a season? I know in the domestic world, you'll have some hens that will lay like 200 eggs a year. 250 eggs a year, something like that. So what I'm saying is, and that is a question I want you to answer about the game hen, how many eggs that they lay and what is their season, because gamefowl hens have a season that they lay. They don't lay all year long like some of the domestic breeds. But if it's a domestic hen and she's your Adam and Eve, you could use her for laying eggs so that you have to eat. How expensive eggs are right now. So you could use her for that. The rooster, I don't know, put him in a pen with a bunch of cockerels and keep the fighting at bay between the cockerels. I've seen that before.
You're giving expensive birds meager duties. Okay.
Then
I'm going to tell you what you can do with them in a
off?
second.
All right.
Okay.
You've got the answer. Let's go.
Because you're going to go on and on. I almost started daydreaming. I almost wasn't listening to you.
I get it.
I was starting
to
to daydream. I realized, wait a minute, stop. She's saying something. I need to start paying attention.
I totally get it from you. I'm telling you that.
So anyways, if I bought an expensive trio.
This way. That's
okay.
What he does.
If I bought an expensive trio and if I followed my program.
Okay.
First of all, I would probably hold on to them as backups just in case for later. Or if I see big progress and I'm realizing, man, what I'm producing now is much better than they are at this point, then I probably wouldn't keep them. Or one of our members did one time is he got a really expensive trio. He created his family. He was happy with the direction they were going. And then he sold the trio for as much as he paid for them. And then that guy started a strain with the same trio. I actually think that's a genius thing to do.
Yeah, but some people don't want other people around their neighborhood doing just as well as them. Well, they're competition.
I'm talking about a lot of times this is going to be somebody who's related or really good friends, that kind of thing. Here's another thing too. Let's say I follow a program like I got and it's doing well. I may sell that trio to someone else. The chances of them producing the same fowl I am from them, no. I can guarantee you, if I create a strain from that trio and he created a strain, if we got back together in 3 or 4 years, they would probably be completely different due to the geological area, due to selection, just typical or simple epigenetics. There's all kinds of factors, the way they feed them, the way they select them, the way, just all kinds of things. I can guarantee you they're going to be completely different. So it's really up to them whether they can produce the same birds, produce better than you. It could go either way.
It could go either way.
Yeah, it could go either way.
Especially if they're members of the Breeders' Academy and you are not.
Okay.
There you go. No, Chris has a good idea here. If my Adam and Eve proved to be better than themselves, couldn't you breed again and make like a backup subline?
You can make multiple lines if you want to, if you think you can manage them, sure. But I'm okay with producing multiple strains. I'm okay with producing multiple lines or bloodlines if you can manage it. The only thing is once they're going in their separate directions, then they never meet again. There's a place in the Founders Program where that kind of thing could happen, but not in the beginning. Not like that. I wouldn't do that.
And that would be something that you would discuss inside the round table.
Yeah. Chris could always do a coaching call with me too. You really get to know the Founders Program. That'll answer a lot of your questions. If I'm doing an inbreeding and I've got multiple hens that are all good and I can't pick from them, I don't mind breeding them all and see which one produces the better offspring and then go with that and get rid of the rest. The idea is to tighten up the bloodline and go in one direction because you don't want to expand that bloodline until you're into the foundation line. That's not something you're going to do in the beginning. You really need to tighten up and clean up that bloodline in the beginning.
Speaking of which, I think this is pertaining to what you're talking about right now. Giles is saying that he's got full siblings that are completely similar. The only difference is the comb type. Do you have any suggestions?
What are the comb types and which one do you like better? And then I can tell them what to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out.
Because I wouldn't just randomly breed them. That's a trait that I would be very specific about and start improving as soon as I can, especially if everything else looks good. There's no reason except both those combs. If he wants the P comb and he's not very careful on how he's selecting them and breeding them, he could lose the P comb.
You want to explain that?
The P comb is dominant and the straight comb is recessive. And so if I want the P comb, I wouldn't breed the recessive at all. I wouldn't breed any straight combs. I would only breed the P comb. Anything straight comb would be weeded out, would be cold. If I want the straight comb and I don't like the P comb, then as soon as I start bringing the straight comb together, the peak comb disappears. If he's dealing with a dominant recessive and he wants to dominate, he's going to have to be careful and he's going to have to nurture that thing and only breed to the ones that express it. If he just wants the recessive side, the straight comb, then that's easy. That's a piece of cake. But I would start concentrating on that right now. If he likes a single comb, then that's a piece of cake. He can fix that really quick.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. This show was brought to you by the Breeders' Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl. As a member, we'll provide you with the roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. I urge you to check it out. You've got nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders' Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl.
I hope to see you there. So let's get started.
Do you think it's best to let the offspring fully mature before selecting after all culling is done, like bull stags versus cocks?
Obviously, you're going to cull out any birds that are sick, defective, or completely substandard. They just don't represent the breed. You're going to cull them as you see them. When it comes to the actual selection process after that, I'm going to get all the birds together. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cull out the birds that don't meet my standard. They're not ideal. Once I've culled out the crap and the ones that are substandard that I would never breed to, whatever's left is what I select from. I don't do the selection first. I do the culling first. Then I do the selection. And then the idea, depending on my breeding program, how many lines I plan to create and manage, will depend on how many birds I'm going to keep and who's going to be bred to who. Let's say I'm just going to make up a number like 6. I need 6 pairs. Once I get those, everything else are my backup. I've got my A birds. I put them in the brood pen. Everything else is put to the side as backups. So that last selection process would be when they're mature. At least 18 months old, preferably 2 years. So that last selection process would be at the point they're mature.
Okay, so what he's actually asking is about full maturity versus early.
Okay, that depends on you. I like late maturing birds. I've always selected that way. Any birds that mature early, I usually got rid of. Easier to manage. The fact that they mature early, there's no benefit to it really, because at the end of the day, you get the same birds. You don't want birds that are killing each other when they're young. That's a pain in the ass. You don't want birds that grow up, like a lot of people are promoting feeds and supplements that make the birds mature quickly. Unless they're meat birds, they're short time birds, terminal birds that you're going to be processing at 6 to 8 weeks old, or maybe some of them that are processed at 12 and 6 weeks old because you want that different type of bird. Unless we're talking about those kind of birds, most birds like American games and show birds, you do not want early maturing birds because they end up developing improperly. They have the wrong type and conformation and structure. Their bone structure is completely different. You want a bird that grows at a proper pace. If you're speeding that up through nutrition or supplements, that's not good. So you want the genetics to grow them and develop at a proper rate. Anything early maturing, like in my yard, I usually got rid of. Like my stags can roam out there until they're good 6 months old and I don't have to worry about anything. I like that.
He's got some 6-weekers that are fully
that's a pain in the butt.
fighting with each other.
That's a real pain in the butt. Now, some people like that. I don't. That's part of the early maturing that I would work against.
But sometimes, like a seal, that's just in their nature. You have to be constantly watching those guys because they're picking on each other almost.
Yeah, but that's still a selectable trait. I don't care what breed it is. You can fix it over time. No, I disagree with that.
Yeah, he's saying it's rough some days.
I had birds like that. I couldn't stand it. I had a light red family years ago that would do that. And it drove me nuts. Couldn't stand it.
You got to be constantly going out there and seeing what's going on because you hear all this ruckus.
You come out and they're all beat up. They're all black and blue and their eyes are all shut because they can't even see anymore. It messes them up. A lot of times they don't mature properly because they kind of lost a week or something. They're not eating, now they're not drinking. They all feel like crap. Yeah, I hate that. I don't have that anymore. I got rid of all that. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go on that.
So we were talking about breeding, never breed backwards to past ancestors. And breeding backwards equals regression, digression, or generation, reintroduction of detrimental and deleterious genes, reintroduction to silver of recessive genes. A lot of people, they like that kind of breeding where they're breeding backwards. Or some people actually call that line breeding. What it actually is in and inbreeding. This usually consists of uncle to niece, aunt to nephew, cousin to cousin, because they are afraid of breeding them too close or getting them too inbred. And they always think that breeding an uncle in from the side or an aunt in from the side or going back several generations to the original ancestors is a good thing. And like I said, it's regression, degeneration. It reintroduces all the detrimental and deleterious genes that we're talking about. All the recessives come back. I always want to breed towards progression, not regression. So I always want to move forward. And the only way you can do that is to have a proper breeding program, understand the traits that are being expressed, and understanding the genetic factors of those traits. That's going to help the way you select them. That's going to help the way you move them forward and actually create a strain. And then keep progressing them generation after generation. Now, a lot of people will go, breeding backwards, what about throwbacks that are beneficial? Let me tell you what throwbacks really are. Because a lot of people have misconceptions about throwbacks. A lot of people will see a trait come out. Oh, that's from the leaper side that was in there generations before. Or those legs, that green leg is from the hatch side or something like that. It doesn't work like that. Genes are genes, traits are traits. Names aren't attached to genes because that same gene can be in multiple different strains. Anytime you see what you would want to call a throwback is just a simple recessive. All that meant was that bird was carrying something hidden within him that the hen had too. So when you breed two birds that are carrying the same exact allele, and those alleles are matched up, that trait is going to be expressed. That's all that is. So you have to determine whether that's a trait you want to progress or you want to eliminate. Because chances are some of the offspring are going to show it and some aren't.
There you go.
Okay, here's another one. Never clone a bird with faults. Now, like I said, a lot of what we're talking about is totally connected. It's going to feel like we're repeating ourselves. So when you breed to a fault, you perpetuate a fault. And some of these faults are pretty bad. And we want to stay away from the faults, the detrimental genes, or the detrimental defects, the deleterious genes, anything that's faulty, anything that doesn't represent its breed. Get it out as fast as we can because we don't want to replicate them. We don't want to perpetuate them. Most of the time, if not all the time, they're recessive. And once we get those embedded in the genome of the gene pool of the family, it's almost impossible getting them out. They go through meiosis, and once you got them so tight, and they go through gene recombination, and because they're so alike, you just don't get that crossover event where you get that variation anymore. They're recessive, so they're embedded in there. So it's really important to stay on top of that. When you see a fault, don't take a chance. Say, oh, I'll deal with that later. That's not a problem. I've heard so many people say that a defect is a temporary issue, that I can deal with that later. A recessive gene is just something, I'll go ahead and breed to it. I like everything about the bird. I'll just deal with that later. You never want to deal with any defects or detrimental recessives that they're just going to come back to get you later.
It's what did you call it? What did you just say?
I don't know. I have no idea. When I ramble, I can't remember everything I ramble.
No.
I'm a professional rambler. You think I remember everything I say?
Supposed to. You're the man of the hour. My God. It's just a problem for now and we'll deal with it later. It's a problem for now that you need to fix now or you're going to be dealing with a lot of it later. So.
You're going to be dealing with it later and forever. Okay. You're never going to get rid of it. Yeah.
I like what Christopher says here. He says, people say I'm crazy when I say that you promote improving the genes through breeding and selecting. It's exactly what we're talking about right here.
To me, that's common sense. How else are you going to improve them? He may be talking about the fact that they think it's not about selecting and culling. It's about adding new blood. They always think that bird over there is going to improve their bird. And it doesn't work like that. And we'll talk about if we get to it. Oh, we're going to talk about it now, matter of fact. Okay, so never introduce outside blood. Because I'm thinking that's where he went with that, because that's an important one. Improve the family, keep them as pure as possible, improve them through selection, selecting the best birds and culling the worst. And then over time, you create a family. I will say this, if you use a proper breeding program, you get there better and it's more sustainable. But the idea of adding new blood to either fix them, improve them, or refresh them is a really bad thing. It doesn't work like you think it does. Whenever you're outcrossing, infusing, or actually doing a cross, you're introducing detrimental defects and deleterious genes, genetic weaknesses that you didn't even know was there. You're contaminating them, basically. You took a family that you worked so hard on, you got them to the point when they're a foundation and they're reproducing themselves. One fault, or you feel like they're getting a little too close, so you add the new blood. You just contaminate them. You just add all kinds of stuff in there that you're going to have to deal with later. And they're never going to be what they used to be, because now they're a completely different strain than they were. What we did was we destroyed Propotency, because Propotency only comes when they're pure, inbred, and homozygous. The more pure and inbred and homozygous they are, the better Propotency we're going to get. That means they can pass their qualities down to their offspring. Not their genes exactly. The genes are the genes. Whatever's there is there. But the actual quality. So we see that in the cock. Propotency is mostly a male thing. The only time we see it in the female is when the cock lacks it so much that she just takes over. What we get from the female is mitochondrial DNA. And when she passes that to her offspring, we have a family that is strong, healthy, active. They grow and develop properly. We get the best birds from good hens that have good mitochondrial DNA. So if that hen is active, healthy, never sick, produces offspring that jump out of the egg, that are never sick, they grow and develop, you're going to have a really good strain. And you want to look for those kind of hens. Whenever we add new blood, we actually change the gene frequency of the family. So that's going to create variation. We're going to get all kinds of new genes or traits that we didn't see before. Whereas when we were improving them and breeding them pure and selecting them and culling them properly, we improve the intensity, the gene frequency, in a point where they're able to reproduce themselves so much that we don't see a lot of the variations in there anymore. We don't see the genetic diversity. We see they're repeatable, they're predictable, they're uniform, consistent. To me, that's a pure family. Why would we ever want to mess that up by adding new blood?
Here's what Christopher is saying. People say that he has heard from that you can't improve them at all. What you buy is what you will have forever.
No, that's the problem. We see that all the time. They think, okay, I'm going to get a birds from a well-known breeder. Whatever he has is what I'm going to get. All I can do is keep them as good as I got them. That's bullshit. That stuff makes me angry. It just frustrates me because the idea is to improve them, to actually look for the offspring that are better than the parents and improve them generation after generation. You wouldn't believe what's hiding within the genome of those birds. They're just waiting to be expressed. And the more you inbreed them, the more that's going to pop out. Those are the genes you want to take advantage of and exaggerate and actually improve the strain, get rid of the bad ones. Every family, even mine, Frank's, whoever's, they could all be improved by proper selection, culling hard, and using a proper breeding program. A lot of people think like line breeding, that's a maintenance program. All you're trying to do is keep them as good as you can. I never realized that. I always thought everybody understood line breeding as an improvement program or part of an improvement program. And Frank kept telling me, no, they're actually looking at it as a maintenance program. They're just trying to keep them the way they were. I didn't start realizing it until I started talking to more people. I started listening to other people who had their own shows and were bringing these breeders on, these big name breeders. And that's exactly what they were saying. I'm like, no, that's not what you want to do. Every family can be improved. You just got to watch for the genes that are working in your favor and take advantage of them. Let's put it this way. If you didn't do any selection whatsoever and you bought this trio, you produce offspring, you just bred whoever to whoever.
Yeah.
Keeping a family or actually improving a family takes work. It actually takes the selection to actually improve them. Because if you don't pay attention to that, or you're not really selecting them properly or paying attention to the things that are popping up, they will regress. They will degenerate to something that you will not like. It takes work. Here's a good example of what he said and what they're saying is wrong. Just a simple fact of the way polygenic traits work. You can improve them by producing a number of offspring, because there's going to be some variation within the offspring. The fact there's variation means that they can be improved. Variation makes selection possible. Selection makes improvement possible. So what we're doing is we're looking for the best ones out of that group, and we're breeding to the highest intensity. That's proof number one that we can actually improve them. If there's variation, we can improve them. Every time we add new blood, because these are the same people that don't think purity of blood is possible. Anytime we add new blood, thinking that we're refreshing the blood, we're actually improving the blood by infusing new blood, we didn't improve them, we didn't do anything. All we did was create hybrid vigor. What we did is when we add that new blood, in the creation of new gametes is a process that is called meiosis. Through meiosis is the crossover event, where the chromosomes of the mother and father meet. And when they separate, they exchange parts of their chromosome with each other. They divide into 4 parts, each gamete different from each other. That's the variation. Now we have offspring that are unpredictable. So anytime we're refreshing, we're changing the family completely. They go through gene recombination and they create unique gametes that are completely different from each other. So anytime you think you're refreshing the blood, you're not refreshing anything. It seems like it because of hybrid vigor. All you really did was change the family. They're completely different than what they were. They're never going to be what they were. And now you have to start all over, select the handful that best represent what you're looking for, and create a family from that.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate and say, but Kenny, I found this great hen, and she'd be perfect for my stag rooster. They need to be together. There's a solution to that.
Yeah, create a whole new family with them. You just started over. That's a whole new family.
I'm talking subline.
Yeah, okay. But that's still a separate family.
It is a separate family.
It is a completely separate family.
Okay, let me give you another scenario. But Kenny, I need to add new blood because my strain is just kapooey.
You're not selecting them properly. You're accepting faults that you shouldn't have accepted. You're tolerating defects that you shouldn't have tolerated.
Yeah.
If that's your problem, you're going to be right there again later down the road. It doesn't matter. Adding new blood changes the family. Adding new blood, you're starting over.
I'm still not getting the answer I want to get.
Then tell me what you're looking for.
But Kenny, I need this hen to fix the problem in my strain. I got to cross because I need this hen. She's going to fix the problem that I have with my family. No. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer.
Okay, yeah, I don't know where you're going. I thought I answered it already.
Okay, no, I'm going to give you the answer. No, you need that hen. Okay, yeah, you need that hen. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a subline with that hen. And then if that family that I've created in that subline is better than my original family that I have, I'm going to scrap that original family and go to that subline family and make that my primo number 1 family. Correct?
Yes, but it's a different family.
True.
Okay.
But if you're happy with
that's
it,
true.
then you go with that.
No, that's
right?
true. If it exceeds your other family, then now that becomes your new family. But it's a different family.
It is. That's true.
Yeah. I would
If you're
never
okay
mess
with it,
around
you're
with your
okay.
foundation line. I would always do a subline. If I'm doing any kind of experimentation, or if I think I need to add new blood, I would never do it to my foundation. I would do it, like she said, to a subline, which is still a separate family.
Yeah.
I thought I answered that.
Okay. Whatever. Maybe you did. We are going on almost 2 hours and we have 10 questions that I've starred.
Let's quit at 2 hours. Let's see if we can answer your questions. And then
Okay, you're going to have to be quick.
Okay. Then you got to not ask me other questions. No follow-ups.
No follow-ups. Damn it. That is not going to be easy. Okay, the one question that we didn't answer, and we asked the question, but we didn't answer it, was how many eggs do the American Games lay per season?
They are seasonal. All I can tell you is my hens start laying in February, and they usually end in June. And I usually get nearly an egg a day or close to it. That's mine. Yeah.
Okay. So a throwback is a recessive.
The simple recessive gene that's hidden in there, and it's not going to be expressed until its mate has the same recessive gene hiding in her.
So back to poor Christopher and his kids that don't want to get along. His stags are fighting his pullets. So they're just not mature enough to be with the pullets.
It sounds like they're beating up on it. Just separate them. If they're doing it when they're mature, then I would get rid of them.
Okay.
I wouldn't tolerate that. But they're young right now, so you got to give them a little leeway. A lot of things that stags and pullets do when they're young, most of the time they grow out of them. And if they don't, then that's when you get rid of them. Yeah.
I like this one down here. Nancy's the mind reader.
No. She's not.
Okay, fine. I'm not. All right. Would white in the foot feathers, meaning feathered legged birds, be a progressive white? It's just like a single molted, but the
Mottled.
original breeder the original breeder never had any models.
Yeah. If it's a white coming out of a bird that shouldn't have white, it's progressive and it's bad. Matter of fact, we did a show with Brian that covered progressive white. We did a number of them that covered progressive white, but we actually did a episode on progressive white. Yeah, it's bad. It's going to ruin the strain, not only on the outside, but it's going to affect the inside of the bird too.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah. It's hard to get rid of, but you can get rid of. You just need to select the birds that have the least amount of it. And hopefully you can select the birds that don't have it at all and just keep doing that till it doesn't express itself. It's tough. I've done it. I've worked with a number of breeders who had that and they got it out of theirs. So it's possible, but you got to be willing to hatch a lot of birds and you got to be willing to cull hard because you're not going to fix it by hatching a few chicks or a clutch. You need to hatch as many chicks as you manage and afford and select the few that don't express it and keep moving forward. You tolerate it, you're going to perpetuate it, and eventually it's going to get worse.
Okay, well, there you go. I think we pretty much answered this one. What if family A is good and the other family B is better? What should I do with family A?
Your family B should be A, and your family A should be B. So your family B should be your brood fowl, and your family A should be the backups.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I like that answer. All right. So
and the seabirds, get out of there.
Yeah, seabirds in it. Or you save those for your showbirds because if you're a good breeder and you know what you're doing, your seabirds shouldn't be that bad.
You've already culled out the bad birds, the defects, the sick birds, and the substandard. The seabirds are just a level lower, but they should be good birds still. They should be worth giving away, selling, or showing. Those are the birds that you do those kind of things with, but you never bring them back once you take them off the farm, but you never gamble or take a chance with your breeders, your actual brood fowl, the ones that are actually in the breeding program.
Okay, don't beat him up and annihilate him, but here's a person who just never really cared for flock breeding. What would you suggest for him?
You're not going to create a strain or improve a strain through flock breeding. Flock breeding is a domestic chicken way of group mating, basically. Let's say you have a house of 100 hens and you have about 10 roosters on a 1-to-10 ratio, and you're just trying to keep them fertile. And so you're just producing a lot of eggs and hatching a lot of chicks, and you're not really worrying about the selection. You're not trying to improve them. You're not culling out the defects of standard birds or even sometimes the sick birds. Flock mating is just a way domestic chicken breeders use to produce a lot of birds for sale or a lot of eggs for hatching. So that's all flock mating is.
You know what? I just learned something.
What?
I didn't understand what flock breeding was. So you just explained it to me. So I was totally thinking it was something else. It was like you don't care for breeding aspects. You just raise chickens. So I just totally misunderstood that comment.
And that's what he means. But actual flock mating, which is what it's actually called, is like a large house of birds with a 10-to-1 ratio. And you're just trying to keep the hens fertile so that you can hatch a lot. Hatcheries use flock mating. That's the method they use.
Oh.
Yeah.
That may be the problem with a lot of hatchery birds.
Yeah, because they don't care about the quality. They're hatching eggs to sell chicks. And most of the people getting birds from hatcheries aren't looking to create a family from that. They just want pretty birds. Or they just want a handful of birds in their backyard to give them eggs. That's all it is. They serve a purpose. But that's not where you want to get your birds if you're trying to create a strain or something like that. You want to go to a good breeder who specializes in that breed and get your birds there.
Okay. Wild birds should be soon starting to migrate for the spring. I would assume that would mean they would be coming back up from the south. Some of the migratory birds, like the African geese, maybe.
Yeah. What about it?
So what do the breeders do to protect their flock? Get it out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just try to keep the wild birds out of your yard. A lot of times what's happening is birds are flying over and they're dropping their droppings onto your yard. All it takes is a dropping the size of a dime in a chicken yard and all your chickens can get sick. Yeah, you just want to keep the wild birds out of your farm as much as possible. Maybe free ranging this time of year might not be a good idea for some. Keep people out of your yard.
I think it was Sue that was talking about how they keep it netted up at the top. So say the sparrows or the bluebirds, they can't get into the pens because they like to get in and eat the feed and things like that.
Let me say something about that. If you're netting the sides to keep the wild birds out, that's fine. But you want to put something solid on the top.
That's what I was just going to say.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Now who's reading whose mind now?
No, I just
All
use
right.
less words to do it.
Okay. All right. You want a refresher course on what the 30-30-30 rule is?
Are they talking about quarantining birds?
Yes.
Okay. Whenever you're taking birds off your farm and bringing them back, or you're bringing new birds on your farm, I use what I call a 30-30-30 rule. So basically, you want to keep the new birds about 30 yards or as far as possible from your birds, like at the end of your property, and you always want to feed them last. You want to wait 30 days to see if they express or show any symptoms of disease. A lot of times they're carriers and they're not going to express the disease. So after 30 days, put a sacrificial bird with them and then wait another 30 days to see if your bird either comes down with something that they are carrying or passes something to that bird. If everything's good after that and your bird or that bird are sick or showing any signs, they're not symptomatic for any disease whatsoever, then you can assume that they would integrate in your yard good. So that's what I do. Or what I used to do when I used to show birds.
And going right along with that, Sue was saying the APHIS site by the government has the AI information. So it has updated information for you.
Like I said, we had Peter Brown. We just did a show with him on avian influenza. Or we did one on rats and we covered avian influenza. Dr. Gallardo's planning on coming on, and he's a chicken veterinarian. Poultry veterinarian at UC Davis. Like I said, we've done a number of shows with him. That's all on the website. And he's going to come on and we're going to talk about AI. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about other stuff too. I told him, we've covered a lot of different diseases already. And I told him, hey, we'll cover whatever you want to cover. He goes, let's start with AI. I go, good to go. Mm-hmm. So I'm waiting for him to tell me what his schedule's. So is that it?
No. What episode is the one about progressive whites? Do we know?
There's a number of videos that are already on the website with Brian Reeder. We did talk about progressive white in those. The main episode we did on progressive white, I'm in the process of editing that right now. And that'll be on the website soon.
Oh, that's going to be so good.
Yeah.
I was there when Kenny did the interview with him on that one. That's so interesting.
It's going to wake you up. People breed for that. A lot of people think that's cool and it looks neat. They don't realize they're actually going in the wrong direction. So something they might want to reconsider.
Jose doesn't have hennies, but how do they reproduce more hennies?
And we talk about that too. So Jose, get ready. We did a whole episode on hennies. You're going to like that.
All right. Are there forms for record keeping on the Breeders Academy?
Yeah, we just
site?
Go into the programs and courses, and at the bottom, Nancy did a complete program on record keeping. There's all kinds of. You tell them. Go ahead and tell them what you did.
Okay. Took me over a year. Should have took me 3 months. Okay. Sorry. I do have a day job. No, actually, the course has. So excited about this. The course has different forms to use. It tells you what each form is, how to use it, why you should use it, who should use it, because not everybody should use all the forms. For an example, I have forms strictly for people who raise broiler chickens. The type of record bookkeeping that they're going to do is not necessarily going to be the same as a person who is breeding a showbird, a domestic breed, or American games, different things like that. But in the program, it has the terminology of how to use it. It has a page strictly with just forms on it that you can print out, whatever form you want to print out. It's great. And we also did a video on it as well. Kenny and I talked about each form, what it's used for. And I even have it sectioned out for breeders, for hens, for roosters, like I said, broilers, farm maintenance, health records, things like that. So you're going to love it.
How
Go in there and
many
check it
different programs did we do? We did one program, but we did a number of courses. How many videos did we do?
out. I don't remember, but I
About
know
half a dozen, wasn't it?
I know there is 47 or so, maybe even a little bit more of charts and
No,
graphs.
I'm talking
Charts and
about the
graphs
actual
used.
videos we did, the different videos we did. Okay, what we did was I think 5 or 6 different episodes that covered different things about record keeping. And then what I did was I took them all and I put them into one video, but they're also separated into their own videos. And if you go, it's at the bottom, near the bottom of the programs and course page. It's also in the master's class video page. And if you open that up, you'll see the main video that covers all of them. You scroll down, you'll see the individual videos. And then you scroll down a little further, you're going to see the links to all her graphs and what do you call them? All the
Well,
pages
logs
and forms and
logs
logs
and
and
charts.
stuff like that. Yeah,
Logs.
so it's a major program, actually. So check that out.
Yeah, it's in the written word, so it's in an article, but we also did a video on it. So if you don't like reading through an article, you've got the video to show you everything that I talk about in the article. However, I do think that the article has a little bit more detailed information on it than the video side does.
Yeah.
It usually always does. So
Yeah, it's what we did tonight. There's going to be more on the page inside the website than we're putting in this video. It's
Yeah,
always that way.
yeah, in the
Everything
show
we
notes.
cover, there's more information on the page than there is on the video because it's just too much to cover. I'm always skipping around and moving down, so I'm always skipping things. But if you want the complete information, go on the website.
yes.
Anything else?
One more.
Okay.
Thank you for ordering our book on Amazon. I appreciate that. But just want to let you know that the Breeders Academy has a lot more information in it than this book actually does.
The book is a great introduction to breeding, but it doesn't have the programs like it does in the website. That's the difference between that book and the website. Plus, you get all the videos. We're doing so many videos to go with all the programs and courses. Yeah, I'm putting information on that website weekly.
And if you're thinking of becoming a member and you're not a member yet, and you're like, I'm not a reader, 800 pages of the written word.
A lot of videos.
There's a lot of videos on there. And also, you can highlight the written word and have it read to you.
Yeah.
That's another thing you can do. And then also, Kenny said at the beginning of the program, whatever we do in video on YouTube, it's only on there for a little while. And then it goes into the archives of the Breeders Academy. And inside the Breeders Academy, there are, gosh, at least 200 videos by now.
On the podcast side, we're at, what are we at?
No, we hadn't hit 200 yet, have
No,
we?
we're way over 200. Let me see. Let me look.
We did.
234 on the podcast side. And today, this is 158 on the live side. And then we have all the members roundtable videos and all the Masters Class videos too. We have 36 Masters Class videos, and I have a bunch in the works getting ready to go out.
Yeah.
And then we have a bunch of special videos and audios that are on there also. So there's a lot of information, and we're expanding it all the time. And then we can do coaching calls too if you're a member.
Exactly. And coaching calls are you and Kenny get together, you talk online, and you can email him some pictures of your bird so he can help you select what you want to use as your brood fowl, different things like that. So you get Kenny's time one-on-one. And it's not extra. That's just what you get with the Breeders Academy. So
Yep.
you don't have to pay extra for that.
Nope.
Yeah.
Is that
It's all
it?
good.
Is that it?
And I'm all done.
So I want to thank you, Nancy, for joining me. So I'm not sitting here talking to myself the whole time. And appreciate you guys for joining us, contributing questions and comments. Those kind of things do shape the show, and I really appreciate that. I guess we'll see you guys next week. Anything you want to say, Nancy?
Yes, make sure if you like what you heard today and you liked our show, give us a thumbs up, share, and share often. Let's see, subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps us get out into the world, all the other millions of people that like to raise chickens, because I'm sure there are others that haven't heard of us yet. So help us get out there and be heard. Thank you so much.
See you guys later. Thanks.
Have a good week. Bye.
Okay, thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you again for joining us on the Bred to Perfection podcast show. This show was brought to you by the Breeders Academy, where by becoming a member, you can increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and take you and your fowl to the next level.
We can also show you how to create a strain from hybrid crosses or mongrel flocks, and help you to create, maintain, and improve your present strains. We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel anytime.
To join us at the Breeders Academy membership website, go to www.breedersacademy.com.
Best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
While you're checking out the Breeders Academy, make sure to sign up for our newsletter, The Breeders Bulletin. We provide a lot of free bonus materials and some great information that will take you and your fowl to the next level. Well, that's it for now.
We hope you join us next time for another episode of Bred to Perfection. We'll see you later.
Bye. Welcome to the after show. This is the part of the show that doesn't exist. What happens in the after show stays in the after show. If you've mentioned to your friends about the after show, which happens from time to time, no worries. Just tell them not to let out our little secret area of the show. Enjoy!
Health is non-negotiable. If you're starting with unhealthy birds or sick birds or birds that have health issues, then that's going to be passed to the next generation, and it's just going to get worse as you go. And the last thing you want to do is rely on medications, because medications are just hiding the faults. How are you selecting properly? How are you selecting the right birds? How are you moving forward when you're actually hiding the faults? Outcrossing is the same way. As people think outcrossing is the answer, because when they do the outcross and are breeding hybrids, they think it's hiding a lot of the mistakes. It might hide some of the recessive traits, but it doesn't hide everything. But you're actually introducing traits that they didn't have before that just aren't expressed yet, which are deleterious and defects and health and things like that. So I don't think breeding to sick birds or birds that are hybrids are always the way to go. Maybe in the beginning when you have to and that's all you got, that's what you got to do. So yeah, you want good health. You want to select birds that are free of defects. We did answer this.
Yes.
I was including it. Free of faults. They got to represent their breed. The biggest thing is when you're selecting, what was the question again? When you're selecting your pair. Okay. So now let's take it from selecting the pair to actually selecting the cock and hen, which we said a minute ago, but let me go over it real quick again. So they got to complement each other. That's really important, because if you have contrasting characteristics, you're going to really fight those traits along the way. So they got to match their mates. They should be the same breed and variety. They really should. If you're breeding different breeds and varieties together, then you're actually creating a whole new breed. Like American Games. If you're adding Asil, then they're no longer American Games. If you're adding Peruvian birds, they're no longer American Games. And it would take them many generations to get to a point when they start acting and looking like American Games again.
And that does happen.
They're doing it too much. Are you kidding? They're doing it all the time. Yeah. Most of the birds I see on Facebook or any social media site, they just don't represent American Games, which tells me they're either selecting them poorly, they don't understand what the true structure of the bird is, they understand what the function and the purpose of the bird is, but they don't understand the true type and conformation and the traits that make the breed. So they're losing it. And then you can look at them, a lot of times you can see the other breeds in them. And because they don't know how to improve them from there, they just keep looking worse and worse as they go.
I'll give you an example of that, the Asil. You can totally tell when the Asil has been inbred into American Games. And
to me, that's not an attractive look. But also the cocks, you need to try to find, if you got I want to say you want a proponent cock. Okay, but the only way to get propotency is when you're selecting a cock that's inbred, they're pure in their bloodline and in their traits, and they're healthy. You don't get prepotency from hybrids. You don't get prepotency from hybridization or mongrelization. So anytime you have multiple bloodlines, like a lot of people are into creating 3- and 4-way crosses, things like that, you just wiped out prepotency. Potency went out the window. The only thing you are seeing is the product of hybrid vigor, which is, like everybody knows, I say all the time, it's neither inheritable, past the next generation. the bird with the hybrid vigor is the product. It doesn't go any further. It's a one-time deal. So you can't improve hybrid vigor and you can't enhance hybrid vigor. It's what it is. But propotency is really important. So you want to try to find a cock that is as pure as possible, it's inbred as possible, and it has as many homozygous dominant traits as possible. That's when you're going to get the most propotency.
Is that the definition of propotency?
That's the criteria of good propotency. Any of those are missing, you're not going to see the effects of propotency. Mitochondrial DNA, again, it's the same thing. The more inbred they are, the healthier they are, the better indication that hen has good mitochondrial DNA. So if you're selecting your Adam and Eve that have good propotency, or they're pure, inbred, they have as many homozygous dominant traits as possible, they don't have any faults or defects, then chances are, if you have those criteria, you're going to have a cock that's probably going to be propotent, and you're going to have a hen that has good mitochondrial DNA. If you are enjoying the show and would like to learn more, I encourage you to join me at the Breeders Academy. By becoming a member, I can help you to achieve the competitive advantage.